I am 91 years old. For 47 years, I was a nurse. I held hands that would never hold anything again. I sat beside beds where the machines slowly went quiet. I have seen more people leave this world than I can count. And I need to tell you something before my own time comes. Most of them did not die from their illness. Not really. They died alone. And it was not because no one loved them. It was because of one thing almost nobody understands until it is too late. I thought I had time to tell this story. I was wrong. So I am telling it now. Let me take you back. When I was young, I believed being a nurse meant fixing people, giving the right medicine, reading the charts, watching the numbers. I was good at it. The doctors trusted me. The families thanked me. I wore my uniform like armor, and I thought that armor made me strong. I was wrong about that, too, because the longer I worked, the more I noticed something that the medicine could not explain. Two patients with the very same diagnosis, the same age, the same odds written on the same paper. One of them would fight and recover and walk out the door months later. The other would fade, quietly, like a candle in a still room. For years I could not understand it. I told myself it was luck. I told myself it was biology. I told myself 100 comfortable things. But late at night, in the empty hallways, I knew none of those answers were true. There was a pattern. I could feel it before I could name it. And the day I finally saw it clearly, it broke something inside me that has never fully healed. You see, in all my years, I learned that the human body can endure almost anything. I watched people survive things that should have killed them. But there was one thing the body could not survive. One thing that took people faster than any disease on any chart. I am not going to tell you what it is yet, because if I just said it now, you would nod and agree and forget it by tomorrow. And this is too important to forget. So instead, I am going to show you, through the people I cared for, through the faces I still see when I close my eyes. There was a man in room 12, a successful man. He had money, a big house, a name people respected in this town. His room was full of flowers when he arrived. By the end, the flowers had died, and so had the visits. And I was the only one who sat with him. What he whispered to me in his final week changed how I see life completely. I will never forget his words, and by the end of this story, you will understand them too. Here is what frightens me most, now that I am the old one in the bed. I see you making the same mistake he made. I see it in how you live, and I do not want you to learn this the way he did, when there is no time left to fix it. I thought I had time. He thought he had time. Later never came for him. Don't make my mistake. Stay with me. His name was Walter. Room 12. When he first came to us, he did not act like a sick man. He acted like a man waiting on a delayed flight, impatient, certain it was all a mistake, certain he would be back to his real life soon. He asked me how quickly he could be discharged. He took phone calls from his bed. He talked about deals, about meetings, about people who needed him. I had seen this before. The busy ones, the important ones. They arrive still carrying the weight of a world that has not yet noticed they are gone. In those first days, his room was the brightest on the floor, flowers on every surface, cards lined up like soldiers, a steady parade of business partners and distant relatives, all of them checking their watches. I remember thinking, this is a man who built something, a man who mattered. But I had been a nurse long enough to see what others could not. I saw the cracks underneath the flowers. I noticed that when the visitors talked, they talked about themselves, about the company, about what would happen to his projects. Almost no one asked Walter how he felt. Almost no one simply sat in the quiet with him. And I noticed something else. Every single night after the visitors left, Walter would stare at the door for a long time, waiting for someone who never came. One evening, I brought him his tea, and I asked him gently, "Is there anyone special you would like me to call?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I have a daughter." That was all. Just 3 words. But the way he said them, I will never forget it. There was a whole lifetime of pain folded into those 3 words. He told me they had not spoken in 11 years, an argument long ago about something he could barely remember now. He had been too proud, she had been too hurt, and both of them had told themselves the same comfortable lie. There is always more time. He said to me, "I kept thinking I would call her after the next big project. After things settled down, I thought I had time. I thought I had time." How many times have I heard those exact words from a hospital bed? More than I could ever count. You see, Walter had spent his whole life building a bigger company, a bigger house, a bigger name. He told himself that every sacrifice was for the people he loved. The missed dinners, the forgotten birthdays, the phone calls he let go to voicemail. He believed that one day, when he had finally built enough, there would be time for all of it. Time to mend things, time to be present, time to live. But that day kept moving further away, because there is always one more thing to build, one more deal, one more reason to wait. And now I want you to stop, just for a moment, and be honest with yourself. What are you building? And who are you telling yourself you will get to later? Because I have watched with my own eyes what happens when later finally arrives, and I promise you, it does not look the way you imagine. Walter still had hope in those early weeks. He still believed he had time to make the call. He was wrong, and the day he realized it was the day everything changed, for him and for me. You said, next phase, it happened on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were usually quiet. Walter had grown weaker. The flowers had started to wilt, and no one replaced them. The visitors had thinned out, the way they always do once a man stops being useful. The phone on his bedside table had gone silent for 3 days. That morning, he finally asked me to do the thing he had been too afraid to do himself. "Call her," he said. "Call my daughter. Tell her I am sorry. Tell her I was a fool." His hands were shaking, not from the illness, from fear. The fear of a man who has waited his whole life to say something and is terrified he has waited too long. I took the number. My own hands were not steady either. I went to the nurse's station and I called. It rang, and a woman answered. I told her gently who I was and where her father was, and that he wanted very much to see her. There was a long silence on the line, and then she said something I have carried with me for the rest of my life. She said, "I waited 11 years for that call. I am not sure I have anything left to give." She did not say no, but she did not say yes either. She said she would think about it. I went back to room 12, and I told Walter she might come. I tried to make it sound hopeful. He saw through me the way the dying always do. They have stopped lying to themselves so they can spot a lie in anyone. And in that moment, I watched something leave his eyes. I have spent my whole life trying to describe what I saw that day. The closest I can come is this: it was the moment a man stopped waiting for his life to begin and understood that it had already ended while he was still breathing. This is the first truth I promised you, the truth that took me decades to understand. The body does not die when the heart stops. The body dies when a person decides there is nothing left to stay alive for. I have seen it again and again. The will to live is not made of medicine. It is made of connection. It is made of one person, somewhere, who is waiting for you, who needs you, who would be broken if you were gone. Walter had spent 50 years convincing himself that his worth came from what he built, his company, his name, his money. And in that hospital bed, every bit of it stood silent and useless around him. None of it could sit by his bed. None of it could hold his hand. None of it could whisper, "Stay." This is what I meant when I said most people do not die from their illness. They die from being unseen. They die from the slow, quiet realization that they spent their one life on things that cannot love them back. I thought I had time, he had told me. And now he understood, with a clarity that comes only at the very end, exactly what that lie had cost him. That night Walter did not sleep. He stared at the door. I sat with him in the dark, and I made him a promise. I told him I would not let him die alone. I did not yet know that keeping that promise would teach me the deepest lesson of my entire life. She came on the 4th day. I almost did not recognize her. A woman in her 40s, standing frozen in the doorway of room 12, clutching her coat like it was the only thing holding her up. Walter was very weak by then. But when he saw her, something in him lifted. He whispered her name, just her name. And 11 years of silence cracked open in a single breath. She sat by his bed. She took his hand. And for the first time since he arrived, that room was not empty. They did not talk about the argument. They did not talk about who was right. The dying do not waste their last hours on being right. He simply said over and over, "I am sorry. I love you. I am sorry." And she stayed. She stayed through the night. She was holding his hand when he passed, peacefully, 2 days later. He did not die alone. I want you to understand how rare that is, because most of the time the door stays empty. Most of the time the call comes too late or never comes at all. Walter was one of the lucky ones, and even he came within a breath of losing everything that mattered. So let me tell you the truth, that 47 years of this work burned into my soul. We are taught, from the time we are young, that life is about building. Build your career, build your wealth, build your name. We are taught that if we just achieve enough, acquire enough, prove enough, then one day we will have earned the right to be happy. It is a lie. It is the most beautiful, most convincing, most destructive lie ever told. Because here is the reality. No one, in their final hours, has ever asked me to bring them their bank statements. No one has ever asked to see their job title one last time. No one has ever said, "I wish I had spent more time at the office." What they say is this: "I wish I had called her. I wish I had been there. I wish I had told them how I felt. I wish I had not waited. I wish I had not waited." I have heard those 5 words more than any others, from the rich and the poor, from the powerful and the forgotten. At the end, every single one of them wanted the same thing: not more success, but more love. Not more time to build, but more time to be present with the people who mattered. This is the lesson that no chart can teach. As a nurse, I spent my life keeping bodies alive, but it took me decades to understand that a beating heart is not the same as a life lived. You can be alive for 90 years and never truly be present for a single one of them. So I am going to repeat the thing I most need you to hear. The opposite of death is not survival. The opposite of death is connection. The people who lived fully did not have more money or better health. They had someone holding their hand. They had said the words. They had made the calls. They had not waited for later. Because later is not promised. Later is the most expensive word in the human language. Walter learned it just in time. Most people do not. And now I have to ask you the hardest question of all. Who are you waiting to call? I want you to actually hear that question. Not as words on a screen, as a warning from someone who is standing where you will one day stand. Who is it? The parent you have not spoken to in years. The friend you keep meaning to reach. The child who is growing up while you are busy building a life you keep promising to share with them soon. You know exactly who came to mind just now. I saw it the moment I asked. That person is your room 12. And I need to tell you something that is hard to hear. You think you have time. You feel it in your bones that there will be a calmer season, a quieter year, a future moment when things finally settle down and you can give your attention to the people who matter. You are wrong. I am sorry, but you are wrong. That season never comes on its own. I thought I had time too, and I am 91 years old, and I am still waiting for the day I planned to start living. Later never came for Walter. Later never came for hundreds of people whose hands I held. And later will not come for you. There is only now. There has only ever been now. So let me give you the warning I wish someone had given me when I was your age. Do not spend your one precious life building a monument that cannot love you back. Do not sacrifice the people in front of you for a future that is not promised. Do not let your pride or your busyness or your fear keep you silent for 11 years until the only thing left is a phone call from a stranger telling you it is almost too late. Don't make my mistake. I gave my whole life to my work. I am proud of it. But I came home to empty rooms more nights than I can count, telling myself that the people I loved would always be there. And one by one, they were not. I kept waiting for the right time to truly be with them. The right time never arrived. It simply ran out. That is the cruel thing about time. It does not announce when it is ending. It just quietly stops while you are still making plans. So here is what I am asking of you, not money, not anything you can buy. Tonight, before you sleep, call the person you have been putting off. Say the words you have been saving for later. Forgive the thing you have been holding on to. Sit with someone, fully, with your phone put away, and let them know they are not alone in this world. Because in the end, that is the only thing any of us truly has. Not our titles, not our achievements, just the warmth of another hand and the knowledge that we were seen and we were loved, and we showed up while it still mattered. I am 91. I do not have many sunrises left. But if these words reach even one of you, if one person picks up the phone tonight because an old nurse told them not to wait, then this long life of mine will have meant something more than charts and machines. So I will leave you with the only thing I know for certain after watching so many lives end. You do not get a later, you only get a now. Please, do not waste it.